Hey, Print Hustlers, welcome back to Printavo Print Hustlers Podcast. I'm your host, Bruce from Printavo. We've got Mr. Stephen Fair, got a Campus Inc., and very special guest, Stephen Cranston out of Norcal Screen Supply. A bit different of an episode, which I'm happy about because I wanted to learn everything about distribution and how you got started and just your background. But just give us a little bit about you, how you got into the space.
I did my first screen print probably 5th or 6th grade art class, and kind of got hooked on it there, and then didn't do it for a long time. Then in high school I did like the old Screaming Hands Santa Cruz thing. I did that on paper, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever, the whole process. So fast forward a little while from there, and then I did a print class in junior college and got more into it, did some paper, did some shirts, like a snowboarder guy, you know, going over a fence. And so that's kind of how I got hooked on it. And then fast forward there, I was a recreation major, if that tells you anything, in college. So
just like to have fun.
I got a lot of hobbies, yeah. And so anyway, from there, like I went into HR, which I was listening to Cal King's. He from Blue Chip. He's like, oh, I was an HR staffing manager. I did the same thing. So I did that for about 7 or 8 years. And one of my longtime friends was in the action sports industry, and he was working for a brand, and all of our buddies, we all had the garb on, you know, and I was thinking, like, we could do this, you know, I've printed before, we could print stuff. And so that kind of sparked my foray into like manual screen printing. So I had a shop. Fast forward, skip over like a lot of stuff there, but I spent about 6 years doing manual screen printing. And that's how I got into it, you know, that's how I kind of got hooked on it. With screen printing, it's like, once it's in your blood, you know, it's hard to get out. So still in my blood. Yeah, that's how I got into it, really.
Wow. So now NorCal, give us the brief on that.
Yeah, sure. So, well, to continue on, I guess, with the story there, if you guys remember, there was kind of a downturn in the economy around 2009, 2010. I kind of closed my shop halfway, took a job doing field research photography, oddly enough, and
what's that?
Did that for a couple of... So research intelligence is kind of this big business where, say you want to rent a commercial space, right? You're looking for a new spot for Printavo. Well, you're going to jump on LoopNet or... couple of these companies.
Bruce isn't running out of space. Just look behind him.
Oh yeah, see that? You got boxes.
This is temporary.
What are those shoes?
Ignore that. You're running a little shoe company over here too.
Hey, whatever works, right?
No, we're familiar with LoopNet though.
Yeah. So those companies have these tremendous banks of information on commercial real estate, and so my job was to gather that intel by driving around a little car and taking pictures of buildings. And recording like how many roll-up doors they had, whether they had loading docks, et cetera, et cetera. So that was my job for a couple of years. Got kind of tired of that, and you know, once you've had a business, you get that entrepreneurial thing going, and it's hard to get it out of your head, you know. So I wanted to do a business again, and so I started looking around at everything, and thought about doing another print shop, and just kind of stewed pretty hard on it and thought, well, I'm going to try to get into supplies. And so that was around late 2014.
But why, from there, I guess I'm kind of curious, why supplies versus a shop again?
Well, my area didn't have anyone really here doing it. You know, we got a few in the East Bay and stuff, but there wasn't really anyone in my area. So I decided to go for it from there.
So when you were running a shop, did you just notice like there's no one local that can ship to me in one day? You know, did you do a lot of research to know like, oh, there's a lot of shops here, maybe they need supplies? You know, how did you just what was your thought process going into it?
Thought process was there's no one local here that has supplies, so I'll be the guy who provides them.
Gotcha. Did you know, I mean, obviously you knew about buying supplies from yours. Would you share where you bought supplies from when you ran?
Yeah, sure. At that time, I was buying from Ryonet a lot, and then also some in the Bay Area and some in Southern California as well.
So then, kind of fast forwarding, how did you know where to buy these wholesale? Because you're going to resell them, and I don't know if you manufacture supplies, or are you more of a reseller?
We're a reseller.
Yeah. So like, how did you know where to go? Did you just start like, yeah, tell us about that without giving up your secret sauce?
Yeah. So, I asked around and I made some phone calls. I did some visits, and I got kind of hooked in with a couple of really good manufacturers, CCI, Chemical Consultants, you might know them, and then also International Coating's been in the business a long time as well. So early on, we brought on those two and became a distributor for those two companies, and served us really well. They're on the West Coast, and they have a lot of supplies to choose from. So yeah, I just did some research and made it happen.
So when you first started, obviously, like you had to create the demand by going door to door, shop to shop, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Were you then just drop shipping straight from those manufacturers, or were you actually bringing inventory in, holding it on your shelf, and then hoping to sell it?
So I was I rented a small kind of live work studio. I didn't live there, but it was a live work. It was like a loft on top and a little shop on the bottom. And I didn't have a roll-up door or anything. I ordered supplies from the very beginning. Just got pallets of stuff, and it was funny because they would truck them off the truck, offload them off the truck with a lift gate, right? I didn't have a forklift. So then the driver would have to use a pallet jack, roll it onto the sidewalk in front of my shop, and I would break down a pallet and put it into my shop. And so that's kind of for the first year or so how that went. And then oddly enough, I knew commercial real estate around the area pretty well from being the photographer for a couple of years and recording all this intel. So the place where we currently are, I knew about already. I knew it was close to the freeways, Midtown, and so I came over here and I talked to the landlord, and kind of fast forward 3 months, ended up getting a way bigger space, like 10 times as big. So that was a big jump for us. But yeah, we were in a small shop for about a year and just ordering, quarts of ink and stuff and selling them, and just kind of, we built it organically. I have a solid team now, and I started out with a pretty solid team. It's just grown from there, but yeah, that's kind of how it started.
So like, when did because you're doing sales, right? Were you on the sales front, like building the relationships? Did you have those contacts already? Was it just a couple shops buying a lot from you? Tell us about those early sales.
So early sales were basically mostly kind of garage shops. And then, we developed 3 main channels. That would be me going out to shops and doing calls that way, and then also our website, and then people coming in the door. So those early sales were mainly going to be like garage printers who needed some ink to finish a job.
I mean, it's really interesting. Like, how do you know? Obviously, you ran a shop before, right? So you know a little bit of what you thought was a good product. But how do you know what to buy, especially now, right? I'm sure you could stock everything that anybody asks for, but you got to move stuff off the shelves too.
Yeah. So the question was, how would I know what to stock as a distributor?
Knowing the stock. I mean, I guess you could get even more detailed as to projecting it, right? I don't know if there's interesting trends that happen with what you need to stock to be ahead of what shops need.
Yeah, it was really kind of, and still is in a big way, kind of herding cats. It's like you might sell out of everything, well, not everything, but one particular SKU, and then that you need to have more of that on hand, obviously. But from the standpoint of knowing what to sell, it was kind of like CCI, if you're familiar with their product line, they have a zillion, they have a lot of different things that do the same thing. So it would be like test, see what we like, see how it fit in price-wise to the mix, and just choose what we thought was was good and going to work and readily available. So
I have so many questions. So, okay, here's just a knock on our industry. Buying online from manufacturers sucks. Like none of the big manufacturers have nice websites,
NorCal's is
right? Like
nice, but yes, most
NorCal's is
are
nice
not.
because we use the same Shopify theme. Heck yeah. But I've noticed like buying ink from some other companies is really tough online. How much did you push through like e-commerce?
So in the beginning, the mix of online sales was nil. It was like it was so funny too because I worked so hard. I've done our website since the beginning, and I mean I worked and worked and worked, and it was like I'm gonna launch the site and like open the floodgates.
Were you on Shopify
And
early on too?
I was, yeah.
Heck
I
yeah.
think, yeah.
Did you buy stock back then in
I
Shopify?
wish. Have you seen? Oh my god,
I
yeah.
think in 2014 or 13 it was like $30. So
Yeah, and now it's like
1,200, 1,300.
Almost
it's insane.
1,500.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So wait,
So,
keep going with that. We interrupted you. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Well, so I built a website, and thought it was going to be like, it's up. We're going to just
Right.
pick
Here,
pack, and
everybody,
ship,
come on
right?
in. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, not that way. And I should mention, not that way for our brick and mortar, not that way online, and absolutely not that way knocking doors. Going to shops. It took a lot of time and effort and energy to get it really kind of started.
So do you think now that you've like trained your customers on your website, people just go online and order? Or do people like just texting this rep and saying, I need 2 more gallons of emulsion?
They do both. I'll go to a shop, and if I talk to them and say, "Hey, you need a guy that you text for stuff, like text me. It's all good. I'll fulfill your order. I'll either deliver it, or if it makes sense to ship it, I'll just ship it to you." So as you might imagine, I wear a lot of different hats. Like we're a small distributor, so I'll do outside sales, I'll do cold calling, I'll maintain the website, all that stuff. So yeah.
Wow.
What's your team look like now, Steven? Not
There's
you,
like
Steven.
5 of us. Yeah, both Steven, huh?
Yeah.
You're talking
Pretty good
about
podcast. Best one yet.
NorCal. So 5 or 6, and then and what was the facility size you said now? Because you just expanded it again.
Yeah, we're at like square foot wise.
Yeah.
We got like 5,000 square feet probably. It's not giant.
And are most of your sales then very locally driven, or do you find yourself shipping quite a bit too?
So that mix is on the rise, but it's gonna be like 70-30 local.
Do you have, if you were to look at your customer base, do you generally have the same set of customers buying, or is it a lot of just random one-off customers, or is it like, talk to us about that?
Well, it's interesting. It's kind of hard to gauge sometimes, but I feel like we have a lot of the same customers. And what was I going to say? I had a thought there. Sorry. We have a lot of customers, return customers, obviously, but we're in still this kind of growth phase as a distributor, and we're getting bigger on the internet. So we do see a lot of new customers and new orders every week. So
I think it's funny. I think since I've started at Campus Inc., we've changed for our main distributor. I think we're on our 3rd one in like 7 years. And like, I always say they're years to like, if they do everything right, we're just going to keep buying from them until they royally mess up and we can't stand working with them. And each time we've switched, it hasn't come down to ink. It's been like customer service. It just blows my mind. Like, we spend thousands of dollars a week there, and the customer service is like so bad, and that's why we've ended up switching. What does your team do? Or do they have their own accounts that they manage? Like, they call on this region or this shop specifically, or is it just first in, first out? How do you manage that?
it's more first in, first out. And right now, honestly, it's kind of crapshoot. Like if we have we put out fires as quickly as we can and efficiently, and just try to help everyone out in the order that they made their orders. If they're they need help with anything.
Yeah, we only started investing in it about a year ago. And that was definitely way late. I feel like we should have almost, I think after a million in revenue or so, I think it should have been the right time to have somebody more very dedicated and then own X amount of dollars. However, if it's $500,000 or it's $1 million, whatever, per success manager to help grow that revenue and maintain it. But I think almost what we're starting to think about now is, should they have quotas too, just like the sales team, right? So new sales coming in, sure, there's quotas there, but there should also be quotas for growing of the existing accounts. But anyway, it's interesting to think about.
We're going through that too. I think one of Mark Kudre's talks where he said like 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your clients or something like that. And so if we just focus on that 20% and give those like dedicated accounts, they can grow that nut even bigger. So it's just interesting, Stephen, to hear it from your side, from like a supply side, because I think we're all going through this as small businesses, is like, how do you channel sales and support customers while figuring out fulfillment? Do most of your like best customers, like, do they have your cell phone? Is that kind of the relationship where it's at, where they can just hit anyone up anytime?
Yeah, the people that buy the most, usually that's the way it's going to work. Yeah.
I think what's most interesting there is, even though you built a beautiful website using the best e-commerce tool out there, you still want to make it as simple as possible for your customers to order, and that might mean a text. I see like on the forums sometimes people are like, I want someone to fill out a massive inquiry form and go on my website and try and figure this out. But when people are spending money, it's get in my front door and we'll take care of you. I think that's such an important thing, especially in the supply business.
It's never going to go away. I have shops that I just tell them, like I mentioned earlier, I can feel it out. I know, because I share a lot in common with them. I barely get any of the stuff done I need to each day and each week, and I don't have time to like, oh, do they have, spray adhesive on here? I have to dig 3 pages deep. They want to text me and say, dude, bring me 4 cases and whatever it is, and those guys have so little time that the more time that I spend with them, they'll just start asking me questions. Oh, do you carry this? What's good for that? And you end up increasing your sales by, I don't know, it's got to be half again at least, because they'll just find out you have more stuff, because they're in this kind of mode where they're not seeking out all this new knowledge like a beginning screen printer is. They're like trying to safeguard their own time so that they can get everything that they want to done. So I'm a huge resource, I think, for some of those accounts, for sure. Yeah.
So one thing I know. Sorry, go ahead, Bruce. What were you gonna say?
Well, just on the
So many
products.
questions.
Yeah, I know, and that's why I was like, I've always thought about this whole like Chipotle model, right, where it's very minimal and less decision making versus just trying to meet every customer need, like a big box store, right? Like, is there any thought process of how you balance that where, okay, this is the emulsion, right, that we carry, or here's 5 different types of emulsion that we carry, to make it easier on the customer? Or I don't know. Steven and I were talking about this last night about like, do you reduce just overall business opportunity by focusing now, and then that creates more value later because it's easier and you're more driven to like servicing the core pieces here? Or is it just everything that a customer asks for? And there's no right answer. I don't know.
Well, in my mind, it's very difficult to. So if someone calls our shop, right, or they're emailing us, we can explain that photo emulsion, more or less, even though there's probably 100 different ones you can buy, right? There's 3 main, like, you got a photopolymer, you got a dual cure, you got a hybrid. Like, if you do everything almost right, even close to right, Like any one of those manufacturers is going to work for you. But it's very difficult for the beginning consumer to kind of understand that. So if they call or they email, we can explain those things. But online, it's like you get one chance. Oh, do you have XYZ emulsion? Okay, you don't. Well, I guess I'll have to order from the other vendor.
And that's because they go online and read in some forum that you have to use this emulsion.
Right. This
And
brand
then they're,
loyalty.
yeah. And they're
you
going
know,
to try yeah.
I was going to talk to you guys about that a little bit. It's one of my notes I wrote down. I was thinking about might be kind of counterintuitive for someone that sells a certain, product offering, but I think I was on a lot of forums and social media, and I think it was the beginning of 2020. I just quit all of them because I just would try to help someone out or something, get these kind of like black and white responses and this and it was mixed in with brand loyalty, and also just like my way is the best way, or I do it, and there's so many different ways to do the stuff that we need to do to achieve the same result.
Good thing Matt Marcotte isn't on, because he'd tell you got to go 2/1 with your left hand wearing a backwards cap to code a screen. Shout out, Matt Marcotte.
I'm on board with 2/1. I wear my hat backwards only if I'm arm wrestling someone, but that's it.
So something I noticed on your website is you've got a lot of advice and resources. You've got mesh guides, you've got
and
fonts,
YouTube
stuff to like Lee's pages, even where to buy blanks. When did you realize I need to be a source of education?
I think when we started talking to a lot of customers that walked in, and we realized you can spend an hour with someone and they're buying a quart of emulsion, they're spending $22, There's so much knowledge that they're craving. And I think the point that we were making before is we don't have a chance to educate all those people on the internet, or this is the attempt. This is the attempt to say, hey, you don't have to, use this exact brand of emulsion. This is how emulsion works, and this is what it is. And so we realized that probably more and more over the last, I kind of knew early on, when I first started screen printing, I think YouTube was pretty new, and either I was a latecomer, or it wasn't really as prevalent as it was, but I just was in my basement with the press I bought on eBay, racking my brain, and now I want to utilize those kind of like YouTube and those avenues to link the product knowledge with what we have to offer.
Have people, do you feel like people mention your content a lot when, that's how they found you, or they stick with you, or what?
Do they mention our content?
Yeah.
Not a lot, no. I feel like this is kind of a deeper dive into my own thoughts on our company, but I feel like there's some growth to be made kind of branding wise, so that we kind of stick with people a little bit more, I guess you could say. That wasn't really thought through in the very beginning. In the beginning, it was like, buy some ink, put it on a shelf, put it on the internet. We'll just sell it we'll just sell it all immediately. And now it's like, okay, how's next year going to look? And, what moves do we want to make and things like that.
I commend you for having on your website, if you're listening to this, it's norcalsps.com. Literally, it's advice and resources, and it's everything I need to get started, white ink guide, emulsion guide. I might print this out and show it to my team. But it's just a testament for shops when you're building your website, and they're just simple blogs. It looks like they're just literally just free form blogs. It's such a good idea for people to do, is how do I order shirts? What's the process like? Shops can do this even for their own businesses, and it's not rocket science. I think it's actually really simple and really easy to follow. I don't know, Bruce, if you're looking at it right now.
Yeah, I'm picking it up here. It's are you able to say what the split is? Is it a third or so of walk-in versus online versus just people calling or emailing?
It's roughly going to be around that, we have a brick and mortar. Yeah, people drive 2-3 hours. If they're going to buy an equipment package, they'll drive from other states. They have, because if we have it in stock and they want it, they're gonna make it happen. You know, once you have that spark, you're starting your business, you're gonna do what it takes to get it going.
You know, Bruce and I deal with this is like when we have a new idea and we try to buy something, like Bruce needs to buy a microphone. He's been through about like 25 in the last 2 years.
I figured
He's
it out
always
now.
like, Amazon won't deliver this for 5 days, but Best Buy Pickup has it and I can get it tomorrow morning. So he'll go to Best Buy Pickup and get it.
All day.
Is there something about that speed? Like when people get the itch to buy, you try to like capitalize on that itch quickly. Is that true in your side?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, for sure. So we do a lot of that through social media. We'll say we have this in stock right now, come get it. You know, I think I've sold, in the beginning we were selling a little bit more used equipment. I sold a press in a few hours, I think. We don't deal with that as much anymore, but you know, you got to go pick it up and deliver it, and I just don't have time. I got, you know, my wife and I have 2 kids. They're 4 and 6, and one of the themes in my life has been like figure out how to manage everything and not go insane. So I have a little bit stronger like work-life balance, and it's something that I encourage printers because I know what it's like. I mean, manual print shop. I had 2 or 3 presses in there, and you know, I slept at my shop before. Didn't make it home because I had jobs and deadlines, and it's been really important to me in the last few years since having kids to just kind of know when to take a break, and you know, self-care as well and work-life balance have been things that we kind of try to spread the word about. You know, screen printers can end up working a lot.
What do you do for self-care?
I take bike rides. I go fishing. Spend time with my family.
Yeah.
But bike rides and fishing are usually recharge the batteries pretty well.
Yeah, the mental health thing is...
Yeah, what do you do, Bruce? Yeah.
That's a really good question.
So you sell shoes and office chairs? And
Bruce stares at himself for fun. Just like,
I don't...
that's
I feel
self-care
like,
right there.
You know, it's so interesting you asked that because I was literally at the doctor this morning, and then she was really nice. I was just doing an annual checkup. She's like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, you know, I'm part of this software company." And then we started talking. She's like, "What do you do for?" She's like, "Oh, it must be like you sound like you work a lot." It's like, "Yeah, quite a few hours." But she's like, "What do you do? It sounds kind of stressful. What do you do to de-stress?" And I was like, I guess I go to the gym a couple days a week, but I've been meaning to start playing a sport again, or you know, it's just something. But I don't know. I feel like it kept getting pushed off for so long. Do you do something, Steven, like outside to help? You don't go on bike rides.
What do I during the summer months? I try to get out. Like, I love being on the. I play golf a lot when it's like basically May to September. At 5 o'clock, I'll just go and like walk 9 holes and play like alone mostly. It's pretty sad.
that's good.
I like being on the water. Like boating is fun. Hanging out with Bruce. Bruce is like my second to last call sometimes before bed, or my last call, or my first call in the morning.
Talking about our problems. Maybe it's just more
Yeah.
of a mental therapy. Like who do you call about business problems and stuff? Steven, Norcal Steve. Yeah.
I got like a couple friends that I can commiserate with, but more or less I just hold it all in until I blow up. No, I don't do that. I got a couple friends that I talk with about it, but
Just like
for
other
the most
business
part-
owners.
Yeah, but it's been an issue, honestly, in the last, you know, since kind of starting the distribution business. Kind of felt like I've been in a bubble a little bit, and I
Right.
early on had a really good sales rep with CCI, and then he ended up kind of doing his own thing. He left there, but he was our dude. He would come and like he was real surly and just this old kind of older, not old. If he heard this, he'd be pissed. But
Wise.
he was just this scrappy, like I would go visit shops with him, and he would like make him mad. Like, hey, don't tell him that. He's like, you're off contacts all messed up. Like, Don't tell him
Matt
that.
Marcotte's not that old. Just kidding.
Is that who I'm describing?
No, I'm just kidding. That's Ryan Kasparian.
I mean, do you talk to like? I mean, I guess you compete with Ryanette though, right? So,
Dude, Ryanette's
in a
the
way?
best. They'll talk to any. They'll talk. We do business with Ryanette, so yeah,
Okay.
Because you guys distribute equipment for them or resell equipment, right?
we do. So Riley, we carry Riley and some other products as well, and Rock as well, which is kind of related, but not anymore. But yeah, we interact with those guys a lot, and we also before COVID we were doing classes here on site, and it was a screen print experience class through Ryanette as well.
It's
So-
just like contract printing or like Renfro's salsa we learned at Print Hustlers. Like they make salsa for other companies.
Yeah, white label that.
Yeah, a lot of white labeled. Is there? Oh, sorry, Steven. I'm totally over talking. You go ahead. Farron.
I was worried that we wouldn't have anything to talk about. So if you got more questions, that's great.
So you sell pre-burned screens.
Correct.
Tell us about that. Do you have like a CTS there and someone just sends you you just ship them a screen?
We're old school. We got a scoop coater and a gallon of emulsion and a bunch of screens, and we make screens for our customers and we ship them to them.
How much of your business is that? Is it like 100 screens a day? 10 screens a day? 1,000
No,
screens
it's
a day?
probably under 100. It's probably 30, 40.
You should probably get a CTS.
Yeah, I've heard about those. I got a crusty team though. A little. I mean, they're the best, but they're like, they don't like change. You know, I come in like, oh, we're gonna do this. They're like, okay, I don't really.
I think that's interesting that you're burning screens for shops because that is one of the hardest things for a shop to do when they're getting started.
Yeah. So I wouldn't necessarily say we're burning screens for shops. We don't have a ton of shop business.
It's like home-based.
A lot of home-based. Yeah. Yep. And people they'll buy a whole equipment package from us, right? And they're just ready to go. They want to print, but they don't have a darkroom set up, or they can't really run films, or whatever it is. So we'll either throw in some screens with their order, some pre-burn screens, or we'll just, they pay us to do it. Yeah, and we send them all over the country.
When did you get into that? Because I think that's really interesting. I don't know of a ton of other companies that do that. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, we started in 2015, probably a little bit later in the year, I think. And I didn't, on that same note, I didn't really anticipate that being a big part of the business. In fact, when I started all this stuff, I was like, oh, we're going to remesh screens. And we're going to make millions, right? Not a job that you want to do. It's messy. You got to grind off the glue. It's not easy to do. So ended up not doing that at all. And then customers kept saying, I need some screens. And so I realized, well, yeah, it's one of those things in the beginning, you're like, well, how do I price that? And you figure it out, like you do everything else. And that's what we did. And we've gotten really, I think, good at it. We know what to look for. My team has screen printers. Like, you can't just burn a screen and that's it. You gotta get the film. Like if it's detail oriented, every detail has to be there. And I think we do a pretty amazing job at it. But yeah, 2015 is when we started.
And
it's a grind, by the way, I should add too. Yeah, it's not just something you just do and forget about. Like it's pretty involved and it's a grind.
And those are mostly internet orders coming in, I would assume.
Yeah, we have local people that order by phone or in person as well, but it's a lot of internet orders.
And so can shops or like hobbyists, can they just upload their art online, or like do you proof it back to them? How do you deal with people that don't know how to do art that want screens?
So if there was an easy one for that, my life would be a lot easier and my team's life would be a lot easier. But we kind of depend on them knowing, and then we communicate with them afterward if it's not, if something doesn't look right. And we also try to encourage them to give us dimensions, or at least one dimension, right? Width, not both.
Just teaching that to my sales team this week. They're like, what?
Yeah, it's like,
That's super interesting. And then what about like the hobbyists that try to order like a 6 color? Are you just like, hey buddy, I don't know if that's good for you, or you burn them a 6 color?
Oh, you mean like kind of someone starting out and
Yeah,
wanting to
like say
start with a six color?
Bruce wanted to print, and he's like, I'm gonna do all this stuff, and you look at it and you're like, you're not gonna be able to print this, man.
What? No way, Bruce. I'm sure Bruce would have it dialed in an
I'm
hour.
gonna put it on
Bru-
my tabletop.
Bruce ran a 1 color shop, 1 color all day.
That's tight. I didn't even heard of a one color shop, so that's
I'm
pretty
just
cool.
making that up. Allegedly.
All right. Yeah.
It was yeah. Well, I think we only really used one. I think the most bar crawl shirts and like little club shirts. But yeah, it was basically one, two. Nothing like finishing on a manual job, just a front and a back, and then having to do it all over again.
Bruce, what's the biggest job that you printed manually yourself, start to finish?
I think it was like 250 or 300 shirts. I remember seeing the picture because we took a picture of it after. But I think it was only fronts. It was like 2 color fronts, something like that. But yeah, I remember because we had a blog and we posted every picture with the customer afterwards. And but it was fine. Honestly, you know what the pain in the butt was for us is because when we were also learning, we didn't order extras. So we'd say, okay, yeah, this is 2XL. And then we'd screw up that one and it'd be 1 a.m. and they needed their stuff that day. And then we'd go drive around to TJ Maxx and JC Penney. And I mean, yeah, or like another time it was just, it got stuck in we had a little buddy dryer, so it was tiny, right? But yeah, I mean, just, it was great. It was just when you got to be careful because it'll get jammed up pretty quick and then it's burned, or you just forget and leave the flash on. Then it's burned. We were young and skating and
Stupid, so you
fun.
decided to do software instead. So Steven, when you've been dealing with supply chain shortages, how's that affected you? Are you wrestling to get stuff from everyone else? Is it, have you found a couple things, narrowed down your offerings? What's that been like?
It's been a combination of those and trying to ration, like, even our manufacturers have had other big distributors that they don't usually sell to, just try to buy everything, and they're like, no, we can't sell you everything. We'll sell you what we can, and that's also what we've done. Some of the bigger shops in our area have hit us up, like, let me have all your white ink, and kind of like, no. We have people that come in here every week and buy supplies that have been coming here for years. We're not going to sell everything out. So we're kind of rationing and kind of rearranging the product mix as well. And
that's tough.
It is tough. Yeah, it sucks. It's like, you want to run out of stuff. It's the worst. It's like
especially turning down a big sale too.
Yeah. And that too. Yeah. It's like dropping the squeegee into the ink is when we don't have stuff for sale. Like,
That's something Bruce knows about. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that backing up into it.
We should just live stream Bruce printing.
I bet I could find some old videos. Actually, I'll have to ask around. The lighting wasn't very good. We actually had carpet at first too, and the guy we bought the equipment from was like, "Do not. You're gonna want to actually pull up this carpet. It's not a good idea." I was like, "Are you sure? That sounds like a lot of time." Yeah. You know what? Like, growing, right? Everybody deals with the same people and hiring and management aspects there too, right? But what are some, and obviously you've got supply chain stuff, but are there any interesting challenges that you deal with on a distribution specific based business? Stocking stuff or locations, or, how to do fulfillment at scale, like all these things that are very specific to you guys.
One of the challenges has been kind of trying to grow and trying to operate as a bigger business than maybe we are, trying to push the comfort zone a little bit, and trying to do like more customer education and more kind of tell our story a little bit more. I've been trying to do that in the last year or two. But it's kind of like, I don't know, I guess from my week to week, the challenge is our inventory and also making our stuff attractive for people to sell or people to buy as well. And you know, figuring out on our website how to stock equipment, but once it's out of stock, not stop selling it and still have it, but it's a 4-week, just, it never ends, you know, it's just these, it's like sometimes it's kind of death by a thousand cuts, but just navigating the ins and outs of this stuff.
Steven, I have a question just from your warehouse standpoint. Do you run like a warehouse management system, like for inventory? Do you guys do like tight inventory, or how does that work?
So I have members of our team just check inventory and recount everything on a revolving kind of weekly schedule. We don't really have like an enterprise software system for our shop that counts inventory. We kind of rely on Shopify for that stuff, but I've looked into a few different options as well.
Because you just went into that super heavy.
Yeah, we went down. We're installing Ship Hero.
Oh yeah,
You have
It's a
to pop up
doozy.
some of your warehouse here, so Chris.
I
can
got
put
some
it
tote
in.
boxes. Ship Hero's $2,000 a month. Plus. It better work. I'm paid for like 2 months yet. I don't think we're live. No, I was just
installing
curious.
it.
It's hard. It's like an enterprise. Actually, we're gonna fly out one of their people here to work on it with us, to try and figure out. Inventory is hard as hell. It's not easy at all. So,
Yeah.
Steven, if you were to imagine Norcal in 5 years from now, what do you imagine it to be? Like, have you thought about that? You talked about balance and stuff.
Yeah, I've thought about it. I think maybe another location or a warehouse where we can stage some of this equipment. We just upgraded our pallet racking and stuff, and we also are a rock distributor, so we have a rock that we're going to install, I think, next month as well, which is pretty cool. So maybe another warehouse where I can stage some of this stuff before and ship orders out of that warehouse and do in-store in the other one. But you run into those inventory issues, and it's like, when even saying that to you right now, I'm like, how am I going to do that? But, rising to the occasion, I guess, and figuring that stuff out. I think with more people, we can do the same thing we're doing now, just more of it. But at the same time, people are kind of the wild card. It's like, especially right now, it's hard to find dedicated people. So I'm thankful for our team, but when I look at, okay, am I going to double our staff, then most of my job is going to be more kind of human resources related.
Which you know how to do.
I do. It's not my first choice. I'd rather go for a bike ride or go fishing, but yeah, I'll do it.
What do you fish for out there?
Pretty much anything. Trout. I fly fish a lot. Fish for striped bass in our delta here in California.
I have a question for you about fishing.
Yep.
Do you have a fishing glove?
No, but I know about them. If you are a catch and release angler, there's one glove there's a protective slime on most fish to kind of protect them from stuff in the water.
Gotcha. So when Bruce is fishing for bluegills in a pond in Indiana, he needs a fish glove.
I'm just trying to preserve the water.
You should go for something kind of bedazzled,
I still
No.
can't believe you have a fish glove.
It's protecting their exterior film, the layer.
Is that how squeamish you are? You can't touch a fish?
No, it was NorCal, Steven. It was some of the fish. They have the spiky spine on the back, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like if you don't tuck it down correctly, then it can like really poke you. But they squirm so much, so it can be hard to get it. Anyway, I'm clearly not out there that much where I have this process down.
It's like coating a screen, Bruce.
I'm speechless.
I just try to figure out how many times I can bring up Bruce's fish glove in a year. I think we're
Do you
on
fish a
2.
lot, Bruce?
No, no. I mean, it's probably once a year. I like going though. I have a lot of fun with it.
Is this going
But
to be a
yeah,
fishing podcast now? You going to
I'm
change
actually
formats?
down. Or next time in Sacramento, we're definitely shooting you a message.
Yeah, I got a boat. Could probably fit like 3, 4 people.
You got a fishing boat, or
I do.
that's awesome.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, we're in. We're done. Send it. We're good.
That's
Steven,
gold
thanks
right
so.
there, right? I got a boat.
That's all that matters. I'm there.
Yeah.
We're in there.
Yeah.
We were there. The last time I was in Sacramento was for the water-based printing event, which they didn't have again, but it was awesome. It was at Motion Textile, and we had a great time. But
So,
Yeah, I heard it was great.
Steven, for anyone listening, do you want them to go to your site and keep buying stuff? Do you want them to not buy out all your white ink? What do you got? What do you got for
Have
your
them
fans
text-
and listeners?
All my fans and listeners, yeah, go to our website, Norcal SPS, and yeah, of course, I want them to buy stuff. Yeah.
all right.
Does that answer your question, Steven?
Hell yeah! Someone go buy like
Yeah, dude.
Also, the YouTube. Steven puts a lot of really cool tutorials out on YouTube, so you guys can follow along there. And of course, if you're in the area, definitely check him out as a supplier.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thanks for the love and thanks for having me on. Wasn't sure what to expect, and here we are. This is a wild ride.
This is fun.
Thanks, Steven. This is Steven Cranston,
Yeah, for
Norcal
sure.
Screen Printing Supply out of Sacramento. If you guys are in the area, definitely check them out. We'll see you guys on the next episode of Printavo Print Outsource Podcast next week.